Today, that's going in. That right there. I've been wanting to put the cage in for a while because I think it'd be funny. It's a little windy out today, so we're going to try to do it outside. And if it's too windy, we'll just back the car in the garage and do it in here. So let me show you the cage. So here's the cage. It's called a Tough Lock. I'm under the impression that I got everything with it. He put all the bolts back in the holes before he sold it to me, and I got that piece, and I don't know what else. So I'm going to need to gather up all the pieces here, see what we have, and then we can put it in the car. You people with kids will like this because you'll like this. Years ago, I used to live in outside of Baltimore, Maryland, and we had a remember used to going down to Inner Harbor on the weekends and screwing around over there. Well, we'd have to get a taxi back, as it was just easier to get a cab than a car and all that other stuff. And rideshare wasn't a thing back then. So we'd get in these old Dodge Diplomat police cars, and they'd still have all the cages back there, and there'd be 4 of us crammed in the back of this old police car. And you had to pay them the money through a little mail slot. You'd have to slide them the money through there because, well, they weren't taking any chances. This was Baltimore in the 90s. And apparently it's gotten worse, which I find hard to believe, but they have succeeded. So let's get in the car and see what we have to do. So let's get out here to the car and see what we have. What we don't have is keys. Wait a minute. All right. This car did have a cage in it before. So we need to figure out what we need to do. I do know that the seat's got to go a lot further up. And yeah, I'm not sure how it's going to clamp around this, but apparently it does. So let me look at all the fittings, and we will see how this all works around. I haven't been able to find much online about it. Of course, I really haven't put a wholehearted effort into it either, because, well, if you've watched my videos for a while, I haven't done a whole lot of research on a whole lot of stuff. It kind of makes it fun for everyone. Okay, the first thing I do know is that we need to make sure the seats are up a little further like that, and probably gonna have to move them forward to give us a little more room. Both seats. So now we're gonna have to act like little people drive this car. So we got that. So let's grab the side fittings and we'll see how they work. So I've laid out the parts. These little feet right here slide into there. They hook into the seat brackets. These, at least I'm assuming they do, these right here clamp onto the sidewall, and they hook into these right here. These right here are for the plexiglass sides, and they hook into there and there. So, and this is the centerpiece that will hook right there, but it slides up and down so you can adjust it for the console or the hump. So what we need to do first is put the cage in the car with these on it and figure out where it sits. So we're going to have to undo the seat bolts for that, and then slide them in, put the cage in, set it upright, and then once we do that, we'll be able to fit the side brackets on and see how all that goes together. Shouldn't be too hard, actually. So to start, as we see, these actually fit right here. I'm going to put the cage in, put these on sideways and they rotate, and you can rotate them on. Make sure these aren't side specific, which they actually look like they are, because this one's leaning inwards and the other one, so if this one's lean and this one, I put it over here, it leans outwards. So we're going to need to put the cage itself in to see how those legs meet up with the floor here, and then when that happens we can bolt everything down. So I got looking at these and I realized how they go. See this curve right here? That doesn't match here, but this curve does. So it actually goes under this. So this is for this side over here. This cage came out of an 06, so I know it'll fit. So let's get these in, and we'll just go from there. Now, I was wondering if we were going to be able to get the to these bolts with the cage in to tighten them up. That's why I was thinking about putting them in, but the seats do go up far enough that if we once we get the cage in and slide them under this, we should be able to put the cage in, slide these on, and then pick the seat up on that side and slide it over. So, and through the front door we should be able to get to the bolts, but we'll find out in a minute. So let me put the camera down and slide the cage in. Okay, so we decided it would be better if we just took the seat out. It does open it up quite a bit, and it also makes me think I really need to do a deep clean back here. So what is that? Oh, I don't care. So we got this out. Now we can try to see if these are in a good position, or if we need to go ahead and just kind of finagle them in. So now we can get the cage in and see what happens. Okay, so we got it in, kind of. It's not this far back. It's going to be up here, which still makes me feel sorry for anybody who has to ride back here. So this is the first step, so I'll show you what we did. So basically, we had to get through the front doors, and we got it right there, and that hole, and that hole on the seat. Now what we have to do is put the bracket that goes right here under the seat belt. Well, I guess we'll have to raise this up. There's a bracket that goes right here. In fact, you can actually see where it used to be. So apparently, I think this had the same kind of cage in it. I have all sorts of equipment that used to be in this car that's identical. Kind of makes you feel like you're winning, right up to the moment you realize you're not. So, if TV's taught me anything, these should go right in with no paint at all. So let's just see for a minute. Okay, it was a different kind of clamp, but it'll go right in. Fits right in where it wants to be, so that's a plus. You can see the clamp marks out here too, so that should be all right. Now, the one thing that I'm discovering is that just because the marks are here, it's a good place to put the clamps, but there is tons of room for adjustability. You can't see it that way. That's better. That one's not really wanting to line up, but we can adjust it quite a bit, and I will figure out what this thing's problem is. And I already got that one kinda over there, so let's take a look at that. So I can see where it had a hole. It was mounted here through here. I thought maybe I could put it through this hole here. But these are a little bent, so I'm not sure whether this is supposed to be on the front side or the back side. This hole would indicate that it's supposed to be on the front side here, but we're just kind of piecing it together because a plexiglass piece goes here. So, but there is tons of room for adjustability. Ask any married couple, adjustability is the spice of life. So it kind of went in a little weird, but I expected that. Let me show you. On this side, this is where the hole was, and this is kind of where these are going to kind of have their own fit and feel to them. They're going to kind of clamp in where they're comfortable. It's kind of weird. And truthfully, that's the way this worked out. Now, I suppose I could probably loosen these up and put it through this hole here, but I'm going to hold up on that for a minute. Let's go to the other side. These just went in right here, and there's a plexiglass piece that goes right here. But this, you can see where the old cage was, and this is where this one wants to fit in here, so we'll have to just adjust it and make it work. This is why we left everything loose. Now I might go ahead and it's wanting to fit on one side but not the other, so what I'm going to do is loosen the bolts on the cage itself, and I might slide it down a little bit. Might loosen up these bolts and slide this down a little bit and see if I can get a better fit on this, because it's tight up here but it's loose here, and I can't seem to really get it to crimp down like it wants to. So I'm going to loosen these up, and then we'll just go from there. So now that we've got it sitting in there, it looks like it's going to rain, so I need to move the car into the garage if I can actually get into it. Well, let's see if we can beat it first. That's always fun. Yeah, sunny and 70 is what the radar said. Sometimes I think weathermen are uncultured swine. So the passenger side was giving us a little bit of a fit. So I told you, like I said, not every car is going to be identical. These things are weird. Believe it or not, I can't use the screw hole in that this was. Now I'm kind of wondering if this wasn't supposed to be on the passenger or the driver's side, and the driver, it says they're universal, but we all know how well that works. So let me show you what I did. I ended up just mirroring the driver's side. I had to tighten this up to make sure this would fit properly. I didn't like doing it, but that was the only way to do it. Tighten this up, use these adjustable screws, got this down, and now we kind of made it to where this works. So now this is tight to a point, so we got to tighten all of this up, these up. The seats are already been, the seats have already been tightened. Whoop. That's how tight they are, that you don't get much out of them. And then we'll get everything tightened up, put the plexiglass on, and then from the looks of it, well, we'll get the back seat in, but then from the looks of it, I think we're going to have a whole lot more room up front than I thought, which will be nice. On a side note, the plexiglass is there for the driver. The screen is so he can hear it, but he has to keep a shield there so people don't spit on the back of his head. Because being mean to a police officer when you're in the back of the car is something that never happens. Well, we did end up moving the car indoors, but let me show you where we're at right now, because we know something's wrong here. We just can't really put our fingers on it. We are certain that the cage needs to go further this way. This seems to be the weakest link, because this is where it's supposed to be. This is all mounted up where it's supposed to be, but for some reason, like this was, mounted in there and this and that, and we can't quite fit it. So I'm wondering if we don't need to swap this one to that side or whatever. But we just can't seem to figure out how the plexiglass, because it bolts here and it bolts here and here. So, but when you put it in, it's just not wanting to line up. So this whole thing needs to come forward at least an inch. So we got to figure that out. I've been on Google for a little while, and it's perplexing, but we'll figure it out. Or we won't, but either way it'll be done. Okay, so we're trying something new. Re-loosen this one. Well, we loosen this one up, reset this, got this in this hole here instead of this hole. and loosen these up. And this is why I said everything needs to stay a little loose until you get it in. So we got all of this ready to go. Now we got to get the figure out which side goes to which. This one got a little broken, which is sad. Actually, yeah, that's what it needed. You can kind of see it. Well, we'll hook it in here, and then it should bolt right up there. So yeah, it was just in the wrong spot. So like I said, I looked for instructions online. There were none. We got to put one more piece in, and then we got something, a little bonus. What I did discover about this car, though, or about all these pieces that I bought out of that police car, was whoever had the car before the kid had it, whatever policeman had it, they wouldn't buy just piece here and a la carte. They bought systems. If it had a piece to it, they bought everything with it, and that's kind of what it seems here. There's some more stuff I got that I didn't realize went with it, and so that's kind of cool. So let's get the plexiglass on, and then we'll get the back seat in, and then we'll go to the next thing. And well, we got to put that plate in. We'll get that in, and then we can go to the one final thing. Wind's picking up like it's going to rain because it's supposed to be sunny and 70 today. Well, it's all in, but we got some takeaways here and some concerns, and you can probably see what they are. I was kind of hoping the kid would wait to pull it out until I took some pictures of it, but he advertised it and he'd already taken it out. But it is what it is. So let me show you what I think is wrong. Well, it's wrong. I don't think it. The gaps aren't right here, and if you, well, let's turn the light on. Okay, wow. That happened. Does that work? Hey, all right. So as we go down here, you see it's kind of digging in right here. And as you come up here, the gap gets bigger. Well, what I really think is this adjustability is designed to be, you're designed to cut it. Because I don't see any other way. But I think that whoever had this, because this actually, the bolt holes all lined up perfectly. So I think this gap is always here. I think whoever had it left it down for leg room. More or less, they just wanted to have be able to recline the seat back a little further. So if I wanted to really do it upright, which I'm really not too concerned about, I'd take that plate out and cut it, and then I could actually rotate it up a little more. Maybe sometime later. But the only other reason we didn't do that is on the back of, well, the adjustability has to come out of that piece, because on the back of the other pieces, they put nut zerts in it. So one side has nut zerts and the other one doesn't. So I'm not sure which one is right. So we just kind of have to go from there. So that's in. So let's go get the other piece. We have a gun rack, and this came with the car, or with the parts. I got this piece here. Did I? No. And this piece here, that's a little dirty, but we'll clean it up, get it all taken care of here. Like I said, this guy, whoever had this, was into systems. And this is a tough lock, and it's all part, and it bolts right to the firewall there. So apparently they both did. I've actually had this open, and what I really need to do is take the magnet out, but you can hook it up to power, and I actually have all the stuff to hook it up to where I can push the button and it'll pop open. But it's got a pin in it, so yeah. Well, I guess we got bummed out on this one. They're not going to work. I'll show you why. When I took these off, I realized that all of this was meant to go on a pole. I may have one in the house, actually. I don't know if it'll work. I may have to build something later. And I thought maybe it would go onto this piece here, because there is a gun rack specifically for this application through Tuflog. So let me grab this and I'll show you the car. Okay, so as we get here, Red went nuts and she cleaned. I thought maybe it would bolt onto here because of these holes, but apparently there's supposed to be a stand here to where it'll actually mount upright between the seats. So I may have to work on that. But that being said, it shouldn't be that hard to figure out. But we did get the cage in. So we're gonna take the car on a little cruise and see about the visibility and all that, and how it actually, if it's form over function, and how it actually all works out. And the one thing is, sure, you better have plans if you need things in the back seat, because I cannot haphazardly toss things back there anymore. So it almost makes you a little claustrophobic. So we'll check the visibility and all that, and we'll see how it all works out. Now, I did download and print out the instruction manual for this, but I messed up. The one I got was for the Canadian version, so everything's in, like, how many snowdrifts per moose or whatever. It's all Canadian speak, so I have to do some conversion. But if you understand kilometers, seriously, it's not that hard. But the function of it should be the same though. So yeah, snowdrifts per mooses. So as you see back here, it's not too bad. The visibility isn't as bad as I thought it would be, but I mean, there is a little bit of a, you know, you are looking through several layers here, but for the most part, it's not as bad as I thought it would be. On a side note, the cage is useful if you have to take your mother-in-law anywhere, because your old lady gets mad when you shove her in the trunk, but there's about the same amount of room either way, so you got that going for you. There's really nothing out here on this paved road. We're somewhere north of Wellington. There's a grain elevator way over there I just saw. But yeah, you want to go out and do a speed run or something, and you just kind of want to be left alone, this is kind of where you go. But you can see for miles, so it's not bad. Truthfully, drivability, it doesn't really make much of a difference if you have the cage in it or not. The one thing I don't like is it takes some getting used to, because it does increase your blind spots and you just can't glance over, and I kind of do miss not having unfettered access to the back seat. But nobody ever goes back in there anyways, and it's just a repository of crap. So it should stay clean and dusty back there. But it was a lot easier to put in than I thought. I realized that once I got it in, there was a few things you needed to watch out for, like the seat belts. You know, you have to make sure your seat belts are free. We did forget one. Took 30 seconds to fix. But then, you know, just the way the guy had it before, the officer had it in the 06, it wasn't right to begin with. So if we were to do it right, we would actually have to take it apart and cut the brackets and then put it back together, and we actually could bring it up to a lot more of an upright position. But aside from that, I mean, it really isn't that bad. So I do know that with the cage in, I'm probably going to take the door panels apart and make sure that the door handles actually work. That way you don't get trapped back here, because truthfully, getting trapped back here is a very real thing, and people have gotten in a bit of trouble and stuck. So yeah, that is a real thing that has happened. So probably going to end up doing that here soon. But aside from that, cage went in a lot easier than I thought it would. So it was all pretty self-explanatory once I figured it out. The hardest part was figuring out, like with the legs, which was the right side and which was the left side. But luckily, you can see the indentions from where it was before, and it slid right in. So kind of worked out there. So anyhow, well, what's next? I don't know. We're pretty much done with this car. I'm just doing all the little ancillary stuff. I'm going to redo all the electrical here soon and actually put a real console and maybe my gun rack in. And the only reason I'm doing that is just because I want it out of my back room. And hopefully within another year, I can have the car completely done and sold and gone. But aside from that, it's been a lot of fun so far. So, just a fun video, putting a cage in. I was hoping to get the gun rack in, but I guess not. So, anyways, I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. See you next video.